All right, what's up, guys? It's Parnellyx, and the patch preview just came out, and I figure we might as well start doing some patch preview rundowns. Everyone does patch rundowns, as you know, but the real juicy content comes a week beforehand. So I think to get ahead of the curve and to give my thoughts and everything beforehand would be good. Of course, you know, some stuff changes, but generally speaking, like 90% of what's in the patch preview is just going to go through. So we can go ahead and just talk about it. So yeah, I'm going to go over it and talk about the implications and if it's a good change or a bad change. Let me know how you guys feel about this and if you like it. So for starters, champion buffs, Viego, it's kind of weird because you guys can see the change, but I'm actually looking straight at the Viego right now. Viego currently, I've played a lot of Viego this season. Not as much as I should have, honestly, because he's been overpowered. I like playing other champions more than Viego, even though I like Viego. He is kind of mediocre right now in solo queue and just in general. He relied a lot on that tank build, like the bruiser build with Divine Thunder that he had beforehand, which was really OP and definitely needed to get nerfed. But once Divine Thunder got nerfed and Viego got nerfed as well, that build isn't as good. A lot of people still are going that build, but I think it's kind of bad because his damage is pretty trash as a result. And I've been going the crit build personally with Kraken Slayer, or you can go Immortal Shield build or Gale Force, and I think they're okay. But he still feels a little bit slow. I can't really explain it, but maybe his clear's a little bit slow or just isn't as good in the early game. So I think he needs a little bit of like an early game buff or something, or something that'll just make him a little bit better early on into the game. So Q total 80 ratio, 6%. So they buffed his Q 80 ratio. W self slow. Ooh, that's an interesting buff. His ultimate crit ratio. That's actually big. So I actually think that they're going more for scaling here, which I think is actually fine. Giving him more crit ratios, I think is kind of necessary. Because crit's always been trash on Viego. He had crit ratios, but they were terrible. Now they're actually decent. It might be enough to justify going like Infinity Edge or something. You've never gone Infinity Edge on Viego because it's so terrible, or Navori quick Blade or anything like that. Usually you just go with your mythic item if you're going crits. Maybe you go LDR, but like that's it for the most part. You don't usually go stuff like Collector or Bloodthirster or anything. But I think they should push Viego to building more crit, so I think that might be pretty good. He definitely needs this buff, and I don't think it's going to break him or anything. I mean, the R crit ratio encourages them to ult into the fight as a squishy, which is nice. The important thing with keeping Viego as a crit champion is it means that he has to take risks to get his passive resets. Because that's the problem. When he was going the bruiser tank build, he wouldn't die. He would deal enough damage to be able to kill people. He'd be a really good duelist and deal a little bit of burst damage. But he'd be so tanky, you couldn't deny him the resets. There was no risk involved. And by making him be squishy, there's a risk involved. So the champion's not going to be OP and impressive as he was before. So it's good to push him towards this crit direction. And I think that's perfectly fine. So Teemo he's been getting a lot of buffs recently. I think that's fine, honestly. Teemo's an obnoxious champion, but does he need a buff? I don't really know. I'm not going to lie. I really don't know. He's definitely not meta and pro play or anything. I feel like he needs a rework. My suggestion is to push Teemo to be an ADC. Not to build AD, but like to be the AP bot laner. On-hit bot laner. I feel like if they increase his range or something, and they push him in that direction, that can make the champion great, because he'd be more viable in that role, I feel. And he wouldn't be as obnoxious in top, as he is in top lane, because in top lane, he's a brutal. If you've laned against Teemo, you know what I'm talking about. It wouldn't be as unfair and unbalanced in the bot lane, so I think it would be cool to move him down there. But they're not going to do it. I know it. I'm just throwing it out there. So they nerfed his Q cooldown by 1. His blind duration went up by 0.5. What? His Q missile speed went up too. The missile speed one, I think, is actually a pretty good change. But these buffs are big. Like, that's a big buff. If you're playing as auto-attack based champions, that's a big buff. You can Q more often, and your Q can, like, block one extra auto-attack. That's really big. Like, I don't think it makes Teemo, like, an OP pick, but it actually might make him, like, a really strong counter pick versus certain champions. So that's kind of nice. Okay, Lux. Lux is... She's just been kind of trash for a while. She was strong as support last season. Which is a little bit obnoxious with the Q max build. But in mid lane, she's always been very kind of trash. The problem with Lux is her lane phase is too bad. They definitely need to like do something to improve her wave clear or something to just make her laning stronger. So let's see what they did. Attack speed per level. That gives her more pushing power. It's kind of a weird buff, but I guess. Passive mark duration extends if a basic attack is in flight or R is being cast. That's a good quality of life change. Always like those changes. Always like those changes. Especially versus, with underplayed champions. E damage went up by 10 per level and 5% AP ratio. I'm curious if that makes her one-shot the back wave when she maxes her E out. If that actually allows her to one-shot the back wave, this buff that looks very minor could be so massive for Lux. Like, it could actually make her meta. Probably not, but, like, that's, like, how big of a change it could be. Even though it's a small number. RCD lowered. This, I don't like this change. They keep doing this with Lux. They nerfed it last time for a reason. They don't need to make her scaling better. They don't really need to. Her scaling is fine. I mean, I guess, honestly, if I was playing Lux, I'd probably rather have an ultimate that's lower cooldown later on, but what she really needs is the early game buffs. The buffs allow her to get through laning phase. You don't want to, buff her to the point where she just doesn't have to interact with the lane at all. But you want her to be able to lane competently against meta champions. I don't know the implications of all this, but it looks pretty good overall. I don't know if I like this change, but I'm not going to complain about it because it makes her feel a little bit better late. Okay, Azaya. I thought Azaya was actually pretty good this patch. They buffed her Q, which was kind of insane. That was a really nice buff I've seen, but yeah, no one's really playing it anymore. So I don't really know. People just decided she just still is kind of trash. So they buffed her movement speed by 5, her cooldown by... Wait, her Q... They buffed her Q cooldown, her Q again, and they buffed her Q cooldown down to 2 seconds less. This might make Q max Azaya a thing. I don't know if it will, but it might. And regardless, it's a huge mid-game buff. That's a buff to her E too. She can Q more often. She has more feathers out. That's such a low cooldown. That's such a low, considering she also builds CDR too. Well, actually, I don't know if she's able to build CDR as much anymore. That's probably why they're buffing it this way. But damn. What if you went like lethality Azaya? Went like Dustblade or something? I've actually seen that, I think, before. Just like a month ago or something like that. I don't know. I really don't know how I feel about the change, but I am glad they're buffing Azaya because I actually like her. I like the champion existing. I don't like her being the best champion, but I think she's a champion that should always be decent. At least decent. Her kit's good for the game, and I think she's pretty balanced. She has clear counterplay. And she's just all around a pretty nice champion in the game. So I like Zaya existing and not being terrible. Okay, Jinx. Jinx is one of the funnest champions in the game. Most fun champion. I'm sorry for the grammar Nazis out there, but one of the most fun champions in the game. I think her probably still has a mediocre early game as well, so that's probably what they need to change. I don't really know. I don't really know what Jinx's problem is. She was pretty good, I think, earlier this season. Let's see. They buffed her passive total attack speed. Is that on her resets? I don't actually know what that means. Oh, I think that is on her reset. Wait, that's a huge change. That's a huge change then. Holy moly. cast range went up, which is that's kind of weird. 25. How did they come up with that number? I don't know. And her ultimate's down, which I think is actually probably pretty good, especially early on, because they want to encourage you to like throw out your ultimates more, go for the risky ultimates. When you're playing Jinx, because the champion's so mediocre and so hard to get kills with early on, you usually want to just save your ultimate for like the guaranteed resets and stuff to snowball, because you need your ultimate to kill a lot of the times, and it's already risky because it's a skill shot that's pretty easy to dodge. But I think that's a good change. Sure, I'm down to see more Jinx. I like Jinx as well. I think Jinx is, like I said, it's one of the most fun champions of the game. She's really obnoxious to play against if she's really strong because she just is a hyper carry, but she's too fun to like let the champion just be bad. Okay, Scion, W shield ratio is up. I don't have an opinion on Scion right now. I think I never know if Scion's good or bad. He always just feels okay to me. But that's a pretty big ratio buff. Is that on the damage? No, it's a shield. So that's fine. Sure. I don't know the implications, but that is fine, I guess. I can't really complain. As far as like how like Warwick plays on the occasion, because I am a Warwick main, obviously. How do I feel about these buffs? I get hard countered by Teemo in the top lane. Luckily, I'm not playing top at the moment, but that's annoying. Warwick counters Viego if I'm going, or if he's not going the tank build. If he's going like a squishier build, it's good. So I don't mind Viego buffs. And Warwick does really good into the rest of champions. So he actually likes these buffs in general. But I am trying to give my opinions just based off of the game, overall. I'm not trying to be biased. But there's two perspectives to look at it. The Quinn nerfs. I don't know why they're nerfing Quinn. I never see this champion. There's like 2 1-tricks in high elo that play this champion, and she's always feels like I've never been like, oh man, they picked Quinn. Just such a threat. Someone dodge. Ban Quinn. I've never done this. I've never said ban Quinn or anything. Champion always feels terrible. They buffed her, or they nerfed her attack speed and her W by a lot. I don't know why they do that. Like, I understand statistically she's probably OP, but I just don't know where. I don't know where, and I don't know how. I feel like the champion doesn't really fit in this meta, and she's not that good right now. I would have no issue seeing her in the champion buffs section, is all I'm saying. Okay, Graves. E armor. Yeah, this champion, by the way, okay, so yeah, Graves. Graves, this champion is too overpowered, especially in lane. Top lane, mid lane. We've been seeing a lot of top lane at Worlds. Mid lane as well. It's too brain dead in lane. So you can't let Graves in lane still exist. You have to nerf it out of lane. Because it's too brain dead and it's too hard to play against. Not hard, but it's uninteractive. I've played against this so many times, as with like Warwick mid or Kiana mid. He just perma shoves and walks away and just scales. Like there's nothing you do. It's the most boring matchup in the world, regardless of who you're playing. So they need to move him out of lane back into the jungle. I think in the jungle he's balanced, but in lane he's too strong for how annoying his playstyle is. But he is good in the jungle. So they nerfed his armor. I don't think that is the change that needs to be made to him. I think they need to nerf his like Q mana cost, or I think they need to make his Q do less damage to minions or something like that. Because I think jungle Graves is okay, and I think this affects jungle Graves more than it affects lane Graves. Could be wrong. I don't really know. But yeah, I don't like lane Graves. Okay, Akshan, I feel like is actually in a good spot right now. They're nerfing him again. He's also pretty obnoxious to lane against, but that's kind of what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be a lane bully. Champion's really weird because I've played plenty of Akshan. I played like 100 games of Akshan so far. I haven't played him this month, but since the last nerfs. But Akshan is just, I don't know. He's really good. She's a really good champion. He's good like the entire game. And if he needs nerfs, I can see it. I haven't really played against him a ton, but I don't like laning against him. I'll tell you, I don't like laning against him, but that's just kind of like because of the matchup. When I play Warwick versus Akshan, it's pretty annoying. They're nerfing his E again, so they're really trying to kill E max. I'm pretty sure a lot of Akshans have been maxing Q recently though, so I don't know what this is about, but I feel like he's gonna have no damage now, man. Like, they just keep nerfing his E. His E used to just like one shot if you got a full combo off, which is it was a little bit OP. Considering it resets, it was OP. But I don't know if they need to nerf it this much without giving him damage elsewhere. Especially, I consider Akshan's ultimate is the worst ultimate in the game. There is no ultimate that is worse. Like, sure, you can say something like, "Oh, Zoe ultimate's worse," but that's not true. It's useless on paper, but it works with her kit. And same with stuff like like Jace and I guess Udyr. I guess if you're going Tiger Udyr, but like in terms of like actual ultimate abilities, this is easily the worst ultimate ability in the game. His ultimate. So that needs to be changed in some way. It needs to be like, I'd be fine with them nerfing his E damage like this if they also made it so like turrets didn't block his ultimate or something like that. Because yeah, Akshan's ultimate sucks, and he doesn't really have that much damage outside of his E. So if they're just nerfing the one ability that is damage, he'll bully in lane still, but once it gets to like the mid-late game, he's not going to hurt much at all. So this looks like a pretty big nerf to Akshan, to be honest. Karthus bots. Karthus, I've been seeing some Karthus bot, not like an overwhelming amount, but I have seen him, plenty. Yeah, champion probably is a little bit too obnoxious in the bot lane, so a little bit too brain dead. He just perma fights. So we'll see what they do. They nerfed his E refund. They buffed it at later levels, but they nerfed the refunds. I think the reason why they nerfed it at early levels and buffed the late game is because it's better for solo lane Karthus, because he gets levels faster. So he'll make up the mana returns. Like he'll get to like level 10 or something a lot faster. But when it comes to bot lane Karthus, it's gonna be later. And yeah, this champion never goes Zoom. I've laned against this champion, he never goes Zoom. He just never goes Zoom. So I kind of agree with this nerf, man. I think mid lane Karthus shouldn't be a thing either. He's kind of a toxic champion in general, but I think Karthus should actually stay in the jungle. Maybe an unpopular opinion, but I think he should be a jungler. Because in lane, it's really annoying to play against him. But I think this is a good change. Misfortune. The champions have just been taking over worlds. No surprise here. Nerfing her mana. That's fine. I was gonna say I don't really know what exactly needs nerfed with Misfortune, because she's not taking over solo queue or anything, but she's taking over worlds, and she just it's mostly that she just fits so well into the meta. She does so well with it's almost like the meta is like shaped perfectly in Misfortune's favor, like so perfectly. I don't know if the champion's even OP. It's just the meta is just so perfect for Misfortune. But because the meta is perfect for Misfortune, they might as well nerf her because she is really strong, and I think that's fine to nerf her mana of all things. Glad they're not touching her damage, because I don't think she's doing too much damage or anything. She's supposed to deal a decent amount of damage. Her ultimate's supposed to hurt and stuff like that with the right setup. But they are just going to touch her so that she's not as oppressive. Ingenious Hunter, this rune has been terrible since the beginning of Runes Reforged. Definitely needs to be buffed. I can't think of like what setup. Like, I'm not sure how much they would have to buff this to make this useful though. So we'll see. Base item haste 10 to 20. Item haste per stack 5 to 6. How many stacks? So there's 5 stacks, right? So you get 30 plus 20. So it goes from 35 item haste to 50 item haste, which is pretty good. I still don't think that's enough to make the item useful though in anyone. It does count for trinkets, which is important to note. I actually think maybe Lee Sin would like it, but I think it still is pretty trash. I just think the rune kind of sucks. It needs to like give something else. I don't know, man. There's not enough active items in the game. That's the problem. There's not enough active items in the game to warrant you going Ingenious Hunter. So that's my opinion. Health's rune stat shard. I'm pretty sure this was always pretty strong. They're buffing it. Wait, they're buffing it so much. Oh my god. I'm pretty sure it's been good for a while though. Like mathematically, it like evens out like level 7 or something like that now, compared to the other runes. So this just makes it broken. You just go this every game. If you're a jungler, you go it every game. If you're a laner, you definitely still go according to the matchup. But this is definitely the move. That's like 400 gold. I mean, how much does you get? Like 6 armor off of the armor one, right? Maybe more. Let's see, 6 armor. That's like nothing in terms of gold value. This is like legit. You get a ruby crystal late game, and of course you're not going to like get. This is at level 18, but the way it scales, I think it's like skewed towards the early game. So you get up to like 100 health, but like level like 10 or 11 or something like that. That's gonna be pretty insane. That's a good change. Yep. I mean, okay, I like the change as a jungler. I don't know if it's a good change or is necessary to buff it this much, but I like it. Looks good on paper. Systems nerfs. Guardian, they're nerfing Guardian. I have no opinion on Guardian, so I'm just going to skip over that. Conquer has been broken for a while. Gives just too much. It just gives too much. They need to remove the healing. Keep the damage. Remove the healing. You don't get it for the healing, which is more of the reason as to why you just remove the healing. Let's see what they do, though. Buff duration. This is actually really... This is a big buff for me in lane. When I'm going lane Warwick. I go Conquer sometimes. But if I'm playing against like a ranged matchup and they go Conquer... Actually, any matchup. Any matchup where I go against someone that runs Conquer as lane Warwick, I have to wait out the buff duration to like re-engage or retrade. And this is a big buff for me personally. But they're lowering the damage and they're lowering the buff duration. I think that's fine. I don't think these are the right changes for Conquer though. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think these are the right changes for Conquer. I think they need to remove the healing. Maybe just make it so it takes longer to stack. I don't exactly know. I don't know what approach they should be taking. But I think it should be closer to like Fervor of Battle, what it used to be. That's my take. Oh yeah, Gore Drinker, they're nerfing this. Same with Stridebreaker. They say this is a system adjustment, but it's a nerf. It's a nerf for all these. These changes suck. Okay, wait. As far as like the changes in general, the idea behind the changes, I think they're good. But the item's gutted. This item's gutted. This item's... Actually, for some champions, it might be okay. Stridebreaker is more of a mid-game item, so it might work. I guess Stridebreaker is kind of more of an adjustment. Gore Drinker is definitely gutted, though. They give it Omnivamp. I don't want more Omnivamp. Take that away. What they need to do is do this change. You're going to have less active damage compared to before. And you're going to have less healing with the HP per 5 being gone and the Omnivamp being gone. Spite passive being removed. All of this is pretty bad for Gore Drinker. All of this actually is. What they need to do on top of doing this change to the base damage is... Because item's gonna be terrible, but you don't make it less terrible by buffing the base damage more or something like that. I think how you buff it is you lower the cooldown of Gore Drinker. That way, the more sustaining champions, the champions like Renekton or why is he the Token Bruiser I thought of, or Aatrox or something like that. Champions that are supposed to be in the middle of a fight for like 10 seconds. Those champions can actually get more value out of Gore Drinker by being in the middle of a fight and living longer, and they can heal more. And the items heal is obnoxious, but that's like the point of the item, so I think it's fine. But it should be... I think a lower cooldown on Gore Drinker's active would be a good addition to these changes to make the item Fine. All this does is hard nerf the item. If you do this and then you like lower the active by like 2 seconds, that might be extreme, but I think it'd be warranted with these nerfs. If you lower the active by like 2 seconds, I think you'd have a good item, a well-balanced item that only is being built by the proper bruisers. It's intended to be built by. Okay, Ravenous Hunter. This item's been overpowered for a while. Okay, so they're just nerfing it. That's fine. I think they need to make Ravenous Hunter only work versus... there's so much healing in the game, though. Yeah, just nerf the... Just nerf it like this. Just whatever. I was going to say maybe they should make it more specialized by making it, only work versus champions, but that just, adds the healing problem in the league. I think this is a fine change. They need to tone down the healing. I think it's fine for Ravenous Hunter to exist. It's just that they added so much healing to the game this season that it's just annoying. Like, I'm okay with Gore Drinker existing. I'm okay with Ravenous existing. But I think there's other items and other runes that need to be gutted, basically. So yeah, that's just my patch preview rundown, basically, for 11.21. This is the end of the season coming up here. I think this is the second to last patch before the end of the season. So overall, like this will change the meta actually so massively. The Conquer plus Gore Drinker nerf. Damn. This goes down to 12 adaptive total in Conquer. I don't know if that'll really hard nerf Conquer a ton, but Gore Drinker for sure is gutted. For sure is gutted. And that'll change a lot of champions. Like a lot of champions that are overpowered right now aren't going to be that strong next patch. Stuff like Talon. Stuff like Irelia. I could think of a lot more, but Kiana with Gore Drinker. Like all these champions that rely on Gore Drinker, because like half the champions in the game build it, are going to have to go back to be building squishy builds, and it's just not going to do well for them. Irelia will be fine, probably. She has other options. Talon will have to build squishy though, which will make him more balanced. He'll still be fine, but he's not going to be overpowered anymore, I don't think. So just my general thoughts. I mean, as far as like how this affects Warwick, nothing here is really too drastic. You don't really build Gore Drinker. You don't go Ravenous. You don't really go Stride. You go Conquer sometimes, but you probably won't go Conquer anymore. You might just stick with PTA. I mean, in some like top lane matchups, you still want to go Conquer. You like the health rune stat shard buff. And as far as the champion changes, Graze is annoying right now. He's a little bit too OP. Akshan's a little bit too OP. Karthus is annoying as well. Misfortune is okay to play against, but she's so fast, it's hard to stick under her. So this isn't... She's kind of just, it's kind of a 50-50 versus Warwick. Quinn's easy to play against. Never play against the champion though, so this doesn't really affect me. And these champion buffs are overall... These are champions that Warwick can kind of deal with, so I don't think it's that big of a problem for Warwick. That's just my thoughts on on patch 11.21 coming up.